All right, hello and welcome back to WarGamerGirl and Friends Mark III Hangout. I've got Tony with Advanced Maneuvers. Say hi.
Hey, everybody.
I've got Ben, who's from the channel Should Have Turned Left. He's also my local press ganger.
Cheers.
And then I've got Eric with CounterSlam, and we're actually going to be having a fight after this, so we'll discuss that a little bit in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
I've been so used to playing Signar on Tactics now that I don't know what's going to happen. I was looking at my old loadouts on Tactics earlier, and I was like, I have no idea what to do. This will be fun. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll probably be playing Cricks, so fun times.
Most evilest of all the factions.
They're totally fair, by the way. They're completely fair in Tactics. They're you know, never mind. It's bad. I hate playing against Cricks.
I've gotten started in the levels where I'm now fighting Cricks, and yeah, I don't like Bile Thralls.
Oh man, I'm just going through it now for the first time in like 2 years, so I'm a little excited to. Dowdark and I are starting to play it again.
Yeah.
I'm excited to start getting into it slowly, seeing what's what.
Are you looking at the campaign, like story mode, or are you looking at the multiplayer, just rankings?
So we're starting with, I mean, we're doing campaign right now, and then him and I were going to be switched back and forth onto the versus mode, just so we can, you know, make bad decisions.
Sounds lovely to me. Okay, so from the last hangout, it was just shortly after the announcement of Mark III, and there's a lot of wild speculation. Of course, it was when they had talked about pre-measuring and, you know, some of the sweeping changes that were going to affect. So since then, you know, over the last month, there have been a ton of insiders, a ton of tweets, primecasts, stuff leaked, and stuff on the forums, just everywhere. So we're going to try and consolidate the information for everybody here. And so I'm just going to go back in time. We're going to start from about the middle of February 15th. With the insider from Will Schick, where he talked about like the frenzy rules changing. So it looks like they've simplified that instead of the really long laundry list of how beasts would act when they'd frenzy, about, you know, friendly models versus closest models or whatever. It's just closest model, the end, highest attack, I guess, right?
The other thing that's added in that I actually really like is that they shake effects.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a model that was going to frenzy, you could knock it down or make it stationary and then not suffer any of the effects.
Oh, that's an interesting point. So yes, you do. You shake all effects that can be shaken, and then you choose the closest model, make a single attack against that charged target, and it's the highest P+S attack. The end. Which is a good simplification. I think that's probably a positive thing, because it was one of those rules that you always had to reference back to, I think. I don't know. I never played Hordes. What do you guys think?
Unless you played Circle and you primaled and you just know them all by heart anyways.
Yeah, I played Legion. I never had to worry about frenzy. It was if they did frenzy, they didn't attack my own caster anyway, so I didn't really care. It was like whatever.
You know, for me, it was mainly. For me, it was mainly whenever I was actually running tournaments. I would always have to like pull out the book and be like, all right, let's see what you do again. I can't remember.
Which I do notice a lot of these changes, and maybe barring some of the dynamic card changes that will happen down the road, are designed even to help TOs, because the judge document seemed like it was bonkers to remember and reference back to. So this definitely cleans that up a lot.
It does.
They have also removed just psychology from the game. There is no massive casualty checks or terror checks anymore, right?
That's right.
So.
More icons have died.
Yay! Psychology was a very tilting thing for gameplay. And it had very, I don't know, it was frustrating, right? Because it was just in the hands of dice as to whether or not your dudes rallied, unless you had an ability or an objective that would remove your fear or whatever.
Yeah.
And abusive lists like Butcher 2's Theme Force and Barney and Friends no longer take advantage of that type of rule.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a big thing within Mark II. I mean, I remember switching from Mark I to Mark II. I feel like that's when terror checks really became more prevalent, because so many units lost Fearless from Mark I to Mark II. So it's nice that they just completely got away from it 100%.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, from Mark 1 to Mark 2, command checks got a lot better still. You weren't forced to run to the back of the table and disappear.
And that's true, yeah. I mean, Mark 1, it was like, oh, you failed? Oh, that's good. Just run away. And, oh, you're leaving combat? You also get free strike as well. Have fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
I actually made some lists in Crix that everything had terror in it, so now those lists are gone. So.
Fair enough. No, it's good though, because that psychology play, it's very skewing, and I know they're really working to try and get skew lists out, and I think they're not as, I don't know how much they're encouraging or discouraging spammy lists now with the FA change, like for unit command attachments or whatever they call them. So we'll see on that. But yeah, skewy list, terror abuse is now gone.
Skewy lists, I think, still very much exist. Trenchers are FAU, Doom Reavers are FAU. The lights that they spoiled so far seem pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Power up that allows you to actually spam warjacks a lot easier. I don't know. In terms of spammy lists, I think we'll see. The jury's still out on that one.
Yeah. All right. And then finally from Wilshik's Insider from April 15th, he also mentioned that skill checks automatically succeed, so you no longer have to roll for like repair checks. So, yay.
That is so good. I'm so glad that's gone.
Oh, me too.
It was always a weird random thing that like your dude could periodically just be so bad at his job all game. Even Convergence, like the Enigma Foundry and stuff, have to roll for that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they had like a 10 though. I think it was pretty. They passed it pretty easily usually, but
I have still watched them fail.
I know, right?
I have a battle report of them failing. Yes.
11s and 12s, man.
Yep. That's where your high damage numbers come in, or your high dice numbers come in. So just moving on from that, on the Insider from the 20th, and I don't know where all this fits in the time frame, so if you guys know stuff, please interject. But this is where he talks about no more limits to FA unit attachments, and I guess they're command attachments now, but that you can have one for each unit you bring, so you don't have to worry about one not having that ability.
That is awesome.
It makes sense. I'm not entirely. I guess it was just because of the abilities given to the unit attachments before that they wanted to limit that. I guess mini feats, for example, would be an issue. But I don't know. My winter guard never saw an issue with it. They could have as many as they wanted.
By the way, one thing I find interesting on that, and it's jumping ahead to the Retribution Insider that came out. We know the Retribution Strike Force Commander is FA2. Meaning, even though there are so many theme forces in Retribution that increased the FA of Strike Force to FAU, and there are so many rep players with 3, 4, some even 5 if they played Gareth units. Now, because of the commander, we know they're going to be FA2 because of the command attachment change.
Oh, interesting. And you don't think theme forces will change that?
They might if they do something like all Strike Force or all that. I don't know. Because of the theme force change, I'm interested to see how that's going to work.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many theme forces are really going to come out, because at least we know for Convergence, there's only going to be 2 of the Enigma Foundries that you're allowed to play currently, like even with any theme force. So I'm wondering how many theme force per faction they're really going to come out with.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, because I know they were trying to, I guess, do right by the people who had made significant purchases, Runes of War as an example, for repeated models, and so they didn't want you to feel like you just wasted that money, and so maybe they're, I don't know, it's a soft limit, I think. Someone on the chat did also bring up that on the repair checks, it's instead of D6, it's D3, which I think generally, is that confirmed?
A lot of the that we've seen spoiled are D3 or D3+1. The Necrotech can sack scrap thralls to add to hers. But we also have it in the forums that there is no actual standard for repair checks. So I would expect solos, like the Arcanist.
Arlen Strangeways, maybe.
Yeah, Strangeways, they're probably going to be something higher, like a D6 or a D3+. Whereas when you have the units like in Signar and Khador, they're probably just going to be D3s because they can do so many of them.
No, mechanics need to stay D6.
See, I don't know. Well, we know with the Foundry, the Enigma Foundry is a D3+3, so that could be something for all special solos.
Yeah.
I could see that. I mean, a lot of the stuff they did with Convergence was sort of Mark III-ish designed anyway. So
I was really shocked that like nothing. I was really shocked that almost they said like nothing really changed in Convergence. I was hoping for a little something because I felt like the whole Insider was like and nothing. So okay, great.
Yeah, I was like, hey guys, just let you know, your stuff's the same.
I know. Here's the shot of the corollary. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like at least give us our new Colossal. Let us know what it does.
At least spoil the servitors for that Colossal, right? I mean, something.
I know, something.
Where's the electrical game coming from? I don't know.
Silly.
Aw, it's so cute. You still think you're a grown-up faction.
Rude.
Or Convergence. I actually thought they were really cool, but I don't know if they're wanting to like focus on cephalics, and I guess Retribution only now sort of has been more acknowledged as a full-fledged faction. They've been around forever, in my opinion. Like Mark II, anyway.
They were in the Mark I field test, I think.
Yeah, they were the first book to come out for Mark II, and they came out with an insider of all their Mark I rules.
Okay. Gotcha. They also mentioned weapon attachments you can now mix and match, which for me, Rocketeers, I don't have other weapon attachments, but I guess it opens up that there may be different ones. So that'll be kind of interesting that you are still limited to 3 per unit, but you can mix and match them.
Yeah, one thing about that is Retribution again. They have the Solus Escort that I can tag on to any unit if they keep that in Mark III. So, I don't know. I think that opens up design space for weapon attachments like that even that can hop across multiple units.
Yeah, that's true. And they also have been introducing new icons to replace rules. You kind of saw that when they showed in the Insider from April 20th. They had Iris's card and let's say a Slayer card, Trencher card, and something. And you see Iris has changed significantly. What do you guys think of the changes to her?
Wow. She's really good.
Yeah, I'm excited about her.
Yeah. So, as far as I understand, Spellbreaker's on every attack, right?
Yeah. It's, from what I remember, it is on her, so that means every attack she gets, she does that, but she only has purgation on the gun.
Where it's extra damage, yes.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can not be affected or, not lose your upkeep spell if you take D3 damage. So you actually have a bit of a counter to her as well.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of nice. It gives an option where if you really want that spell, you take D3 damage. If you're a caster, I mean, it's kind of a hit or miss. And even with the new focus rules, you could just spend a focus point possibly and not have to suffer that D3 damage at all. It's really that important to you.
Sure enough.
The scary thing is if he gets her assault off.
Oh, yeah.
How much do you want that arcane shield? Because that's 3d3 right there.
Yeah.
There was one symbol on the Denegger card that I saw where it's got like the 2 swords that are across like this. I don't. Is that parry or?
I think that might be parry.
Okay.
Yeah, that's gonna be parry.
Okay.
It's all speculative right now, though.
No, that's not speculative. That one's been confirmed.
Okay.
Speaking of confirmed icons, anybody else hate the new blessed icon?
Yeah, I keep thinking it's definitely keep thinking that's not blessed every single time.
Yeah, because it's currently magical weapon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be confusing.
Because I was a little excited when I started seeing warcaster cards. I was like, did every single warcaster become blessed? Because of their new sparkly symbol, I thought that was blessed, and I was like, "That's amazing!" And then they peed in my Cheerios.
But then at the same time, it's like, wait, how does Denegra not have a magical weapon anymore? Oh, this could be bad.
Yeah.
She's fine.
She'll live. She got stabbed before and she survived.
Walk it off, Denegra. Got cut in half, you walked it off before. Deal with it. Anyway. Yeah, so I mean, it's gonna take a while to get used to the new icons for me. I think newer players might appreciate it because I know in the old card decks you had a card on there that just told you what all the icons meant, and I always kept that out for forever until I memorized them all. So let's just do that again, and I think it'll be fine. Things like parry makes sense that they'd have an icon. You don't have to worry about anything being fearless anymore, so that's like that can be reappropriated or whatever.
Yeah, though I wonder why they turned cavalry into an icon.
I wonder if it's to be able to give that ability. I don't know.
Right.
On the 21st, Will Schick also put out an insider talking about theme forces. Some mass changes to theme forces. They're no longer attached to warcasters or warlocks. Now they're just sort of general themes that any warcaster, I guess, can use. I guess based on its unit type, right?
Could be unit type, could be model type. Like in Circle, it could be a Wold only type thing or Living Beast only.
Yeah.
You could tie it to Jack or Beast chassis and other factions. I don't know. There's a bunch of different ways they can take it. Magic users even.
Yeah, that's true. Just like magical weapon stuff. I think it'll be interesting. I want to say 40K actually currently has theme forces set up like that. So you get different bonuses based on just fitting within those buckets or whatever. And it also means that they're going to have probably a lot fewer theme forces because not everybody's going to have one or two unique theme forces to themselves. And hopefully that means the benefits you get out of theme forces can be better because currently they're just very binary. They're either awful or amazing.
Yeah.
+1 to your starting roll, or your opponent doesn't get a first turn, that type of thing.
It wasn't terrible.
Somebody get touched badly by
balanced. Fair and balanced.
That's right.
Fox News of wargaming.
Oh.
Well, I know some people had speculated that that theme forces might go away altogether. I didn't think that would be the case because I know they care a lot about the lore and that being tied to gameplay. But I like this direction. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. The other thing that was cool out of this is there are not tiers to theme forces anymore. They function more or less like mercenary contracts or minion packs. This is the list of models you can bring. This is the benefits. Either you're in tier or out of it.
That's
yes.
nice.
Which is actually a fantastic segue to Gators and Pharaoh can now work together.
God help us all.
Roadhogs and Gatorman Posse, and it's just going to be crazy and weird.
Programmers and pigs!
I wonder if it's just going to end up just not being nearly as good as everybody's hoping, but we'll see.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Nuts, man. It's like, I used to play Gators. I actually didn't get into the whole pig thing. I just had just a ton of Gator models, and so now to see them like working together, I sort of wish I still had those models, but I sold them off to get my Convergence army. So
A great choice.
Sell models seems so hard. Yes, but yeah, the Convergence are pretty cool. After that, there was a Primecast, Privateer Press's official podcast on the 21st that kind of discussed several things. How did you gentlemen feel about Tough in Mark II?
I dreaded playing Trolls a lot of the time, so I'm good with that change, honestly. So.
Well, for those of you who are not sure, Tough is only effective if you're standing up. If you're knocked down, Tough is gone. In this, there are still other moves like Anatomical Precision, I think, that negate Tough. But if you just knock a model down, they're not tough either. So
it seems like there's a lot of abilities that they've kind of spoiled that really take away Tough. Like,
yeah.
I've just been looking. I'm like, wow, it's actually going to be really hard to be a Troll player. Like, because there's so much ignores Tough or stops you from making a Tough roll now. I'm like, that's. I don't know if it's a deal breaker. Like, if I was wanting to get into Trolls, but that's, that does take away. I feel like a certain characteristic of the faction a little bit.
They're really going to have to make up for it in another way, I agree, because there's going to be a lot of ways. I mean, it's not that hard to knock a model down and like Ben was just saying, I think Sniper, you said, ignores tough, anatomical precision ignores tough. Like, I hope that they shore up trolls in another way, and not just relying on that one kind of gimmicky move or ability. Yeah. Well, and cost accordingly. So hopefully tough isn't such a hard tax on trolls either.
Krios 1 versus trolls. That could be bad.
That could be really bad. Well, it's like, what is it? Was it Morgul? Which does the epic Morgul's feat or something like that gives blind to everything, but like it doesn't.
Morgul feat.
Yeah, so like, but Legion Beasts can't suffer blind, so that like whole feat is just like crap against Legion.
Welcome to a hard counter.
They even spoiled it in that order. They're like, hey, this feat gives everything blind. Hey, here's Legion, by the way. They can't be affected by blind.
Yeah, here's Eyeless Sight. It doesn't ignore forests anymore, but they're immune to blind.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
Stuck at Scorn.
To be fair, it makes sense.
It does.
Practically speaking. But
Mozart can't be blinded. It makes sense.
Sucks. They also talk about Protectorate warjacks getting a general across-the-board melee attack boost. Not everybody got it, but I think most of them did. And cavalry all get reposition across the board. So.
Which is exciting.
Yeah, boosted attack rolls on charges.
Maybe I'll put together my Grey Lord Outriders.
I love
anyway.
The cavalry in this.
Yeah. Speaking of, I know it's a little out of order, but the what are they, Long Riders, the cavalry for Trollbloods? Yep. They're still going to be they keep their 8 wounds and they get their movement too, so that'll be pretty solid for them.
Makes sense for the theme of them, the fluff that they're like super hardy. So I'm not upset about that because I don't think no other group had 8 wounds. Did they? Did Khador?
No cavalry, no. No cavalry did. Yeah. The only thing in Khador keeping 8 wounds is the Man of War.
Okay.
Anyway. Conquest now has high explosive. That made me happy. So it's POW 10 AoE. The blast is AoE 10, so it's not this crappy POW 6 covering fire anymore. It actually is useful, and I'm excited about that. They're like, hey, you can still play Conquest. Don't just reconvert him into a victor, please.
Please, for the love of God.
Helping around a bit, but speaking of conversions, how many people are going to take their converted to Glacier King Mountain Kings and take them back?
Wait, for what? Huh?
So,
because of how good Mountain King is become.
King, and now that we know the Mountain King, how many are going to turn him back into what he originally was?
Probably
you should
a lot.
just wear a name tag that just flips for which one you want.
Which just says, hi, my name's GK.
Yeah.
My friends call me GK, whatever.
Yeah, he's the Glacier King. He's not MK. Duh. Doesn't have a sparkly glove.
Doesn't have the same ring to it either.
No.
No. Damn it, Tony. Nino also mentions in the chat that the champions do have an anti-knockdown, so if they're base to base, you can't knock them down. So all you have to do is just bring champions when you fight Krios 1. And
just walls of champions.
And don't put any models in front of them that are going to get in the way.
Hey, you know what? The good news is, they only have 5 wounds, so.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
We officially know all the multi-wound or all the medium infantry that have 8 boxes now.
Convergence, yes.
Yep.
Again.
I love all the convergence love, by the way.
I know. Yeah.
This is great.
Oh my gosh.
Is that because they're not going to be? They're not getting anything in the original rulebook, though, right? In the first rulebook, they're not in it.
Don't cloud the issue with facts here.
You've got two of the like only 6 convergence players in the planet, in this chat right now. So.
Hey, we had one in our meta before he moved away.
Oh gosh.
Anyway.
I think there's 2 of them.
That guy was the one trying to get PG before me.
Well, we won't go on to how long it took you to get PG status. That's just a depressing tale. So, so somebody's asking, HC is asking, curious if people here have heard any news about Callus. Is he better? Is he worse? Was he even good to begin with?
Callus, his feet now got a little bit on him. So they got spoiled yesterday. They said Callus, his feet gives out +3 defense instead of 2 to things that are soulless. His feet is still the same. So as far as creating incubus models, I don't know if I have anything else beyond that. Though.
Was he much played before? Sorry.
Here in Indy, our Legion players played him a lot.
Yeah,
See, I
there's
think we play about
a
more.
list built around him called Miserable Ginger Mountain.
Really? Because they're soulless? That's terrible.
Yup. No, the Blightbringer helped him out a lot.
Oh yeah. We actually just played a game on CounterSlam a couple weeks ago where the guy took Callus with the Blightbringer and like 2 units of the, 1 unit of the War Spears, 1 unit of the Warmongers, 1 unit of the Gatorman Posse. And it was insane.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we've got here on the Prime cast. So, of course, Man of War got to keep their 8 damage boxes, and everything else was, hacked down to 5 hit boxes. The downside to that is they kind of said Man of War aren't really changing, which classically Mark II has been a game of speed, and I don't know how that's going to change in Mark III, but it does make me worry about their relevance in Mark III. Now, there is a Shock Trooper officer coming that will make them immovable and immune to knockdown, so I'm guessing they are going to be the type of unit that you just plant on an objective, but I don't know.
So they're a unit you bring to not lose.
Oh, yeah, so hopefully not too expensive. And Bombardiers will probably continue to be ignored because, holy cow, they're terrible.
CRA! CRA!
We have CRA Rat 5. Sorsha's still Sorsha, which does make me and probably a lot of Kato players very happy because she's sort of amazing and should stay amazing. But I'm glad Denny got nerfed. Anyway, Immortals now have souls. Immortals now have souls, apparently. That's a thing, right?
Yeah,
it makes sense.
That's what Convergence has. So I guess Privateer Press learned from it.
Well, good. That's useful, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Useful for Zoltu. Very useful for Zoltu.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Really, just in the Scorn lore, it makes sense that the Immortals would produce souls because they are literally Scorn souls trapped in this body.
Okay, yeah, that totally does make sense. So why didn't they have souls before? Was it just a mechanic issue? They didn't want you to have the benefit of that?
Probably created before Privateer Press figured out how to do it nicely. I think it was just when they were made and released versus now.
Taudark is asking, I would like each of you to touch on your opinions around the notion that this new edition is just rules tweaking over an actual game mechanic overhaul, say to the level of alternating activations. Well, we're not there, but this is definitely more of an overhaul than just tweaking, I think. I mean, unless it's Convergence, but
Yeah.
Convergence did. I mean, they just got tweaked, but they got started so late that they were already using those rules. But older warcasters being able to hopefully be playable again would be nice, and massive changes. Trying to think of like the major ones, like how overboosting works. Obviously, pre-measuring's one. Psychology rules being gone. I mean, it's more than just a simplification.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
As we've seen with Eris 2, there is going to be some major overhaul of some models.
I mean, I just think in general, like, just looking at, like, tweaking the rules is really like erratus, like taking away Weapon Master from a unit that should never have gotten it beforehand. Orders.
Oh, some troll players are yelling at you.
Yeah, that's what I do. If I'm not upsetting someone, it's no fun.
You are on the internet, after all.
That is true. But, I mean, I think just as soon as they announced pre-measuring, like, that just really set the standard for this is a massive, this is a brave new world for Mark III. I mean, and my favorite thing was I went through the Mark I to Mark II transition. I was playing a lot back then, so it's kind of cool seeing this the second time around and kind of seeing like the initial fears that everyone had, and I was like, man, I remember having those fears as well. And a year into Mark II, but like, do you remember these stupid things we used to do in Mark I? Like, do you remember when like Black 13 could get up to power plus strength 17 shots, and that was dumb. You know, and it's like I'm excited for like a year from now. We're gonna be like, man, Mark II was stupid with some rules interactions, like synergy.
Well, people have been saying that. I mean, people were saying that for a while anyway. I mean,
that's how it was at the end of Mark I. So it's nice that this is coming out, and like this is, I mean, with the pre-measuring is probably one of my favorite things. Even with the overboosting, it's really showing like this is a brand new game in a lot of aspects. Like there's going to be a lot of people that it's going to take a little bit of time it's going to take a while to kind of get back into the game and figure out the new things. And I don't know, it's definitely way more than just a tweak.
And think about the risk that Privateer Press is taking, because I mean they have, you know, you look at the number of people that played from Mark I and then swapped over to Mark II. It was probably pretty small compared to from Mark II to Mark III. So with these huge changes coming, I mean, you know, if this was like a really bad Mark, like if they had really screwed up the game, like that could really, really hurt them. So I think it's definitely a big risk that they're taking. But I don't think it's. I think most of it's mostly the same game. It's not. I don't think it's going to change quite as much. But I think it's risky, but it's bold, but it's also needed. I mean, you could say how many times on the forums every week where somebody being like, oh, this caster's you know, we can't play against this caster anymore. Lilith too.
Unplayable, broken, unplayable, broken.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of avoid the forums. Sorry, guys. I don't know how much of a risk it was for Privateer Press. They weren't losing any model relevancy. People who are already invested. And so you're not really going to just toss a $1,000 army out the door quite so easily. You're probably going to stick around and see. And they've done a really good job marketing it and, you know, being on the Primecast and saying why they did these things, and people are pretty well in agreement with what they're doing. So they've seen nothing. Any of like the non-positive response has been so minor that I don't think they're too worried about it.
I'm still waiting to see somebody set their entire army on fire. Like, I really want this to happen.
I know somebody who might actually.
Oh my god, can they please record it? That'd be so good.
That is the plan. We have been talking about this for a little while. You might see an army melt soon.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
We talked about doing an Iron Man game where if you've got a model destroyed, you have to destroy it on camera. That'd be pretty fun.
Oh, that would be awesome too.
That sounds evil and terrible. It takes so long to put these things together.
Uh-huh. But man, everybody would watch that mess. It would be amazing.
That's true.
The way they'd watch a car crash.
Yeah, exactly, right? What? Oh, you lost your death jack. Hang on a second.
Is that $60? Oh.
Yeah.
That's evil. Anyway, moving on. We've got some other insiders. On April 22nd, William Hungerford put out one also talking about organized play and their new Journeyman League. I guess they're now going to this patch system for doing Journeyman Leagues, and you are required to have a battle box or one of their officially sanctioned stand-in models to start with. So what do you think of that?
Worth noting, the official stand-in models only exist for Convergence, Mercenaries, and Minions because they don't have a battle box for you to buy.
Yeah. And so once that does happen, I'm sure it'll be changed to requiring that.
Yeah. For me as a press ganger, the press ganger forums have gone into, or we're in a little bit of a frenzy about that because we're all wondering, wait, do we now need to all buy these and paint them up super quick? What's going on with that? Really getting confirmation that none of the old battle boxes will be valid in the new Journeyman League. So
I think that is,
yeah, the answer was, yeah, in order to do Journeymans, we do have to get them and paint them, but they're also providing incentives to do so, which is nice.
Which is nice.
Well, I mean, the battle boxes are so inexpensive by comparison, and you're getting a lot out of it. So,
They
I don't know.
even dropped in price.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, and to get the new casters, you kind of have to get the battle box. So I think it makes for the Journeyman League, it makes sense. I mean, it's encouraging people to pick up new armies or different armies. So why not play the battle box? Especially with this next round, you know, they're really supposed to be balanced to play against each other relatively well.
Right, and that's kind of the interesting point to it, right? Because if they are specifically requiring you to play X model for the Journeyman League, then it should be a pretty enriching experience, I would hope, that you're not just getting shut down too much. Because the original battle boxes could be pretty harsh. Denegger 1 and Sorcerer 1.
Chaos 1.
Were pretty mean.
Oh no, man, that's striker feet.
I
I
don't know if we'll be running a Journeyman League here, will we, local press ganger?
We will. So we have, I've got the release event from Mark III, followed by an escalation tournament to see how the point levels go, and then the week right after we're going to be starting a Journeyman League here.
Okay, cool beans.
Yeah.
We had actually just done a Journeyman League like a couple weeks right before they announced Mark III, so it was really weird because like we get done and we had a lot of people come out to it too, and now it's like, oh yeah, hey, all those rules by the way we just tied, yeah, it's all going away. We're gonna start all over in like a couple months. So yeah, it's been pretty fun.
Do you think you're gonna end up with too many redundant models for alternate? Like, if you're not interested in changing factions, like me, then do you feel that the additional models you would get just for the sake of getting the new warcaster for your faction would be worth the battle box price?
I've never had a Firefly.
Yeah, it'll be my 4th Pureblood, my 3rd Gorax, my 2nd regular Argus, my 5th and 6th Shredders. I'm kind of...
I have 11 Slayers and 7 Reapers, so yeah.
Good night.
Yeah, I just get these itches sometimes just to play spam, and that's just terrible.
I guess this will be my 2nd Destroyer, and then what's the other one, a Demolisher? So that would actually be my 1st one of those. I never had one. I had all the other jacks, but not that one. The patch system seems kind of cool because you can put it on your bag, and I don't know, the patches were just a smart idea. So. Insider from April 25th, from everyone's favorite Jason Souls, we talk about melee range changes. Now that was another major one that totally made sense because the idea of a warjack having the same half-inch melee as Iris or an Eliminator or whatever was just kind of, I don't know, weird. So now all large warjacks and warbeasts have a 1-inch minimum melee range, and now you will see a range on the card. It'll tell you the melee range of your attack. So it could be half-inch, 1 inch, or 2 inches, barring special rules like the Mage Hunter Assassin I think still has the 4-inch.
Pain Strike.
Yeah. And they do say later on, Mulg is still the only troll caster with 2 inches, or the troll warbeast.
Yep.
Yeah.
And no speed buffs.
So that, I don't know, I'm really glad about that. It just makes sense. If Drago keeps Thresher, for example, or Bloodbath, then the half-inch was just terrible for that. It's just awful.
Yeah.
Trencher Infantry was also getting 1-inch range, or reach. Knights, Exemplar, and Trollkin Champions. Ta-da! Additionally, on April 27th, William Hungerford talked about the steamroller changes. So, as should have already been noted, all of the points cost, they started by doubling and then tweaking from there as far as model valuations. So now a 50-point list will be the equivalent of what we know now as a 35-point list, and a 75-point list will be equivalent to what we currently know as a 50-point list, based on specifically how many like warjacks and stuff are going to be in your battle group now.
Yeah.
So that is.
I'm just glad we're getting like a lot more warbeast and warjack points, because I'm one of those guys that even when I played Crix, I like to have a good mix of infantry and jacks. So now that this is kind of going to be sort of the norm, I feel like I'm almost a little bit ahead of the game in regards to not just taking all infantry and like an arc node, for example. Like I hated playing that way. So,
yeah.
I'm kind of glad for it, honestly.
Now having more jacks is what I've always wanted in the game. I worry about abilities like feedback. I don't trust it. So.
I don't think it's going to be any more prevalent, if much more prevalent than it is now. I really don't think that's something to worry about.
Time will tell. Ooh, another big change, kind of sweeping. Character restrictions are gone from multi-list events, so like it just sort of opens up list building for your tournaments now, right?
All those characters you thought were overpowered, say goodbye to them now. Except
it's a pretty.
That shit was crazy.
Yeah, it's a bold statement, I think, from Privateer Press to say how much they think that the game is balanced with these powerful solos that we had before. To be like, you could bring them in any game you want. You can have Black 13, you can have, you know, I guess whatever awesome solos that they have that I can't remember right now. You know, it's like, it's interesting. Like, you could have Deathjack in every single list.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's, I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see now that we're going into Mark III what that's going to do. If that's going to make every single list the same, just change out the caster, or if we're still going to see dynamic lists like we did a lot of time in Mark II.
Well, people will, of course, play that, and they'll start off with that. I don't know how strong it'll be.
Yeah, it also opens up the tournaments for, like, for a lot of new players, too, who can't buy a lot of models. So maybe they just have the one list, but they have a couple different casters, and they can just swap out the caster and still get, a different game, experience. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it's fine. I think I'm kind of glad they've done that, honestly. It's, at least, I think it may, I think kind of what you're saying for it may sort of hurt the diversity in what people take. Like, you may start to see a lot of the same things going on. But with everything being sort of rebalanced now, maybe you'll start to see a lot more of the things coming on the table too.
No, that'd be interesting. Not so sweeping change would be the terrain requirements that are changing. So we're from 5 to 7 pieces to 6 to 8. We're not on Malifaux board yet, but we're getting there.
I would say, okay, that change isn't sweeping, but the effects change is very sweeping.
You mean because obstructions can now be placed in zones and near flags? Like the restricted terrain is not restricted anymore?
No, that you have to be fully within hills or
Yeah.
forests to gain the benefits from it.
That's true. That is one of them.
It's a nice cleanup, though. I mean, I don't know how many times I saw us, like being a TO and being a PG, they're like, well, I said I was towed in. The other person said they're not towed in. So kind of he said, she said. Now it's like, well, you're not completely in. Oh, well, sucks to be you.
Yeah, the one that weirds me out, though, is, okay, I start walking into a forest. You can see me. I have no bonus, no concealment bonus. I walk a half inch into the forest further. Now I'm magically concealed.
Yeah. There's weird game logic that still is weird. Terrain cannot be too close to table edges. I don't remember what the actual limit is, but they definitely want it to all be in the center and for you to deal with it. So it'll be fun to see how huge bases and stuff interact with all of that.
Yeah.
The other big thing they introduced, a whole different kind of element of the game, or its type of play, called Rumble. So that is where you play on a 30 by 30 inch table, and it has its own special rules, but you don't actually deploy all of your army in the first turn. You can kind of counter deploy, and they say it's sort of similar to starting off in the game, turn 2 or 3?
Turn 3. So you start with your advanced deploy models out, and then there's going to be rules for your regular deployable models as they come onto the table.
Yeah. So wow, that'll be kind of fun. I don't know. I'd like to do a battle report with that and see how that plays, because I know they were talking about doing a kitchen table sized game, and a 4 foot by 4 foot table is a bit unwieldy if you don't have the space for it. So a very modest 30 by 30 inch game. It fits their demos. I think that's about the size of their demo boards at any convention you go to. So I wonder if they're going to really do that too. What's that?
24 by 24 for demos. And
is it?
That's the map that's coming in the battle box kits as well.
They're 24 by 24, I guess, rollout sheets that are coming with them, you mean? Or 24?
So,
say again?
It's that plastic, kind of that plastic thing. You fold the mat out.
Oh, I gotcha. Oh, cool.
When it's bent up, that's a hill.
Yep.
We'll get to that. We will talk about Janissa soon. So casters won't generally start on the table. It's kind of just designed to not get, killed immediately and have a negative play experience. Moving on to Insider from April 28th, also from Jason Souls. He talks about they're tweaking more spells to be friendly faction only. They really want people to play within their faction, I guess, or at least get the benefits of those spells within faction. And he kind of does an overview on cricks. Making arc nodes a little bit cheaper. He gave I think he was showing off the card for like the Death Ripper. It was down to 6 points, a little less offensive, but he wanted to see you be able to put more. I think the idea was that you'd put more arc nodes up on the board and be casting offensive spells, and that's more of the class design of cricks, I guess. This is also where I learned anyway about rec markers being completely removed from the game, so kind of a major change.
I like it. I'm a fan.
Same here.
Yeah.
I think they should have just made guts markers for the large warpies. Just where if you start on one side of it, you immediately slip to the other side of it because it's just this gross like.
Ooh. So threat range extenders. That's.
You just like go through the entrails of your fallen comrades to like reach your enemy.
Poleaxe hit you. Yes.
Weapon slides. Yeah, there we go.
It's Hordes is easy. I should play Hordes. Anyway, but because of that, they had to address necrotext because, you know, if there's no rec marker, what are you working from? Now they collect scrap tokens and they use those to build mech thralls. Additionally, Scarlock thralls are their spell slave no longer allows you to cast upkeep spells. They're trying to encourage you to be more offensive with them. And he also gets the magic ability Darkfire, and you can collect souls. Oh yes, let's talk about Banes.
We like Banes. Banes are awesome.
Banes are our friends.
They're amazing.
Banes no longer have stealth. Goodbye, Banes. Hello, Widowmakers.
Yeah.
But they get Ghostly, which is very interesting considering later on they announce that back arc bonus stuff. So, ooh. But yes, so Bane Warriors used to be Thralls, but now they're Bane Warriors. They lose Stealth, they gain Ghostly, they lose Weapon Master, and gain Brutal Charge. But keep Dark Shroud.
No,
so they're still going to be hitting. Oh, that's Bane Knights that lose it?
Yeah, lost Weapon Master.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Bane Thralls still have Weapon Master yet. So.
Bane Thralls still have Weapon Master, and Bane Knights have Brutal Charge. My bad. Anyway, that's what that happened. Dark Shroud stays on just the Warriors now, right? Or is it on both?
What was that?
Dark Shroud?
Just the Warriors.
Just the Warriors. Okay, good. At least I can still shoot Bane Warriors now, hopefully. I don't know that they're getting a defense bonus. And they also removed the movement benefit from Curse. They didn't say they were removing Curse at all, though, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Mech Thralls got a little bit... what'd you say?
Cricks is still Cricks.
Yeah, Cricks is still horrible evil. They also go into a little bit of Denegra. They changed Bile Thralls, which is kind of a change, or a big one, because it was like 180 arc, right? Within 6 inches, 5 inches, something like that.
6 inches, yeah.
Evil, horrible, unit removing models. But now they're changed to Spray 8, but they still auto-hit, so that's still pretty effective. Mech Thralls got a little bit nerfed. They're down to defense 11 and 1 less power, I think. And Denegra 1.
Going to be 2 less power, which is also nice.
Yes, that will be nice. And then for Denegra 1, her feat no longer affects your focus or fury stat. It still affects everything else. And her feat's still shakeable, isn't it? No, not that one. That's the other one. So you are just still owned when you get hit by her feat.
Speed debuffs no longer prevent charging.
That is an interesting change. And they haven't... I know there's been some rumor about Iron Flesh changing. I'm pretty sure they're going to nerf the crap out of it because they haven't put it on any new casters in forever, so I don't know what they're going to do, though.
Yeah, they hinted that it might not exist, too, so we don't know.
Let me see that. It was really amazing, so... So it no longer stops. So having, let me see, Crippling Grasp no longer stops you from running, charging, or performing power attacks either. Then they gave her back, which I guess was from Mark 1, Tony, Dark Seduction.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
a little bit less powerful, I think, than I remember from Mark 1. I just remember her being a whore.
Wow, that's some Denegra shaming right there. Some quick shaming. Let me see here. Well, if you read the lore, she's kind of.
Yeah.
I'm Haley. Anyway, take control of the target enemy non-warcaster, non-warlock warrior model, and then you can immediately make an advance followed by a basic attack. So nothing crazy. It's like a better version of influence. And it can only be affected once per turn. So it'll be interesting. We'll see how she's affected. I don't think they're going to want to, piss off the audience too much, people who really like her. So it doesn't look like she's too nerfed. Other models like Lord Exhumator Scavarus received all new, potentially defining capabilities like Knowledge of the Damned, which states, when a model in its control range makes an attack or damage roll, this model can spend a soul token to cause that model to re-roll that roll. Each roll can be re-rolled only once due to Knowledge of the Damned. So that's harsh.
That's going to be a lot of fun to play with, too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scavarus didn't see a whole lot of play in Mark II, did he?
Not a ton. Again, it's one of those things that, like, locally, we had a few players here that would play him a lot. But yeah, overall, though, like going to tournaments and stuff, he suffered from the problem with the fact that he was so like toolbox and had so many things he could do that people would oftentimes clock themselves because they didn't know what to do with him when the time came. So he ended up just setting off to the side. So I don't get the feeling like he's probably going to be changing that much from Mark 1 to Mark 2, but he's obviously going to get some abilities that's going to help him to gain souls a lot more, so he can start using that Knowledge of the Damned a lot more. So
I gotcha. They also talk about the Wraith engine. It's going to be straight up incorporeal and speed 7. And take control of warjacks that it hits in combat. And oh my goodness.
I really like playing the Wraith engine as it was before. Having Dark Shroud and just he hit really hard, and having even incorporeal every other turn. He was pretty good. So I think he was pretty good. But anyway, so except for when he got taken control of by like a stupid Gator Witch Doctor, that always sucked. But
dominate undead.
It's not fun when he's not on my side.
Yeah, I know, right? But
yeah, that makes sense. Well, he has this ability Soul Bondage, and I'm not too familiar with the Wraith engine, so I don't know if there's already an ability like this, but Soul Bondage states, once per round, when a living enemy warrior model is boxed within 2 inches of this model, you can remove the box model from play and replace it with a Machine Wraith solo.
That's a brand new ability, so that's something very interesting. And and it's also one of those things where now when you get a Wraith engine, is it going to come with 2 or 3 or Machine Wraiths? So you can make some more. I don't know if it's a gimmick to try and sell more Machine Wraiths or what, but it's an interesting ability. Being able to hit, because it says when a Machine Wraith hits a warjack, then that's how he takes it over now instead of just kind of automatically doing it.
Gotcha. So I'm hoping to see a lot more buffs along all of the battle engines, because I still don't know my battle engine for Khador, but I really liked the idea because you didn't need focus to run them, and they were another like big base that could hit really hard, and I don't know that they were really fully realized in Mark II, so I hope they kind of make up for that with Mark III. It does seem like they're doing a lot more to focus on just doing more, playing a lot more warjacks, but it would still be really cool to see like my gun carriage be really fun on the board.
I might play my Celestial Fulcrum.
That's a really good-looking model.
It is so pretty.
On the Insider from May 2nd by Will Schick, he talks about Legion spoilers. The idea was to reintroduce risk into Fury management. So condition only lets you remove or place 1 Fury now, and but they also changed medicate and condition, so it's not once per turn. You can do it as many times as you have models, I guess, for it. And the Shepherds are FA3, point cost 1, so they're going to be very easy to toss in there.
Also, medicating face-to-face as opposed to range 3.
It goes what? Oh, base to base.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's nice because it's much more of a risk.
I
You're
gotcha.
gonna do it. There's a really good chance you're gonna suffer the consequences, be it from getting slammed or a blast attack or something.
Yeah, and it brings it more in line with the repair mechanic too.
Fair enough. But you can only have 3 of them, so do what you will, or run the risk of fury, frenzy. I mean. And then they also talk about eyeless sight, no longer ignoring forests. You can see through clouds, you can see through concealment, you can see stealth, but darn those trees, you can't get past them.
It's too thick.
Maybe it's like a sonar. Yeah. They also made a massive change to Bethane's feat. They were trying to make her more of a combined arms caster. And so for her, friendly faction warrior models now gain flank on her feet. And so that seems pretty good.
I am so excited for that, by the way, because I own 2 units of swordsmen. I'm going to run those with like 2 units of grotesques, and I'm going to run shredder spam. I'm just going to run all the shredders in and just murder everything as I'm coming through, because those swordsmen are going to be hitting on 5 dice for damage on the charges on that feat turn.
Why not bring stingers? They have reach.
Good. Stingers, Harriers fly over stuff, get a little better positioning. So I don't know. It's either way, I'm excited because I think it's going to be just insanely good. So.
Nice. Lilith also got tweaked, so to better support her infantry. She's more infantry-centric, so she now grants all friendly faction models Gunfighter instead of Snipe, in addition to an extra ranged attack that gives both Strider Scouts and Blighted Archer units a nasty trick against opponents who try to shut down their ranged game with jamming tactics. Okay.
Yeah, so they have Gunfighter so they can shoot into melee, and then shoot out of melee with the second shot.
Yeah,
so they can engage themselves without using crappy mat.
It's going to be very board clearing. And plus with the Ravagor's new Animus too, with, was it Swift Hunter? So now he can take a shot, kill something, and move and take another shot. It's a Forge Scather template. It's going to be... I don't think they really made E-Lilith like a whole lot less punishing than they thought maybe they were going to.
Well, she doesn't have Shadow Pack anymore, so that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Lilith 2 is picking up Soothing Song, whatever that is.
Minus remove a fury from all your beasts.
All your beasts, yeah.
Oh, okay. That helps with that risk management. And then Blightedness Archers, they made them cheaper. They're an 8-13 unit. Blighted Ogren are lowered in cost, gain tough. Grotesque Raiders got revised. They're an 8-12 unit now, speed 7 with gang. So you're getting an infantry buff from the sound of it, because Legion's always been really classically very heavy, beast heavy, right?
Oh yeah,
Very.
Oh, and then they gave the Scythian Murderous, which makes me sad, because I thought Beast 09 was the only one with it. And he now has Thresher instead of Chain Attack Bloodbath, so he doesn't necessarily need to hit to get that.
That's good.
At the same time, that actually reduces the number of attacks that he can make on a single model.
It does. But if he's going, because they kind of designed him to be an infantry killer, I don't see how much a lot of infantry is going to take more than one hit from him anyway, so it may not make a huge difference. And then Proteus got changed. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, Proteus, I actually bought, I have him right here, I bought Proteus, the new resculpt or whatever, after as soon as they announced the rule changes for Proteus. I was like, oh wow, he's amazing now. I know that, there were a lot of spoilers for Legion on the Legion forums yesterday. I don't know if you want to go over those or not. I got the list here in front of me, so things like the Bolt Thrower Animus apparently is going to be Far Strike.
Yeah.
He's going to cost 11 points. Typhon is costed 24 points. His Animus is the same, but it costs 1 now. He has the same bond as he had before with Zagrosh. Naga Night Lurker is 8 points with the same Animus effect. It affects friendly faction models. He has crit Shadowbind on his gun, but he lost the crit poison.
Aww.
Nice.
Zagrosh's Athok ability allows him to refill all Fury after he leeches if he's not at full Fury.
It's kind of cool.
Absolunia 1 is a 15/15 with a few different warps now. One of them is an Ashen Veil warp. One is a +1 speed and flight. And there was another one that they couldn't remember what it was. Apparently, her spells are a little different too. She has Forced Evolution and Blight Field still, but now she's got Wild Aggression and Hyper Aggression. Spell that Dr. Arcadius has. She's still resourceful. Zuriel is insane now. He's 18 points, but he's a Mat 8. He says he resembles more of a Malik Karn feel now, except he doesn't have Weapon Master. He has Quick Work, Power 15 swords with Precision Strike and Combo Strike. He also has Assault, and his Animus is Dodge. It costs 1.
That's really good. Oh my goodness. What's his defense? Do you see it?
12, I think. Is his defense.
Oh, so pretty. I mean, he can dodge, so that's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, is he still a 12-19? Because I'm gonna paint him now.
I think so. So then they got Abby 2. She has Hex Bolt now instead of Teleport.
Yep.
Hex Hunters lost Stealth and they gain Prowl, speed 6. Bale gives them Shadow Bind on their swords.
Oh, jeez.
Fianna, the Lashes is exactly the same. She's 5 points. Anissa is the same. She's 8 points. Tariffs are apparently cost 10, and now it says they have Counter Blast. That was their Animus before, so I don't know if that's just they have something built into them now. Wasps cost 8. Their defense 13, so they used to be 12s. The Harriers they cost 3. They lost True Strike. They gained the Dodge Animus and her POW 9s. They're in defense 13 with Annoyance. And Stingers are POW 10 with 1-inch reach, crit poison. And the Typhon is a Fury 5, armor 18. And that's really the only thing that really changed on him.
Oh, gotcha.
They said Blackfrost Shard has Battle Wizard now. And the twins, Rise is now POW 13. And if she or Saren damage each other, then apparently they lose their feet. So,
okay.
The only other thing that they put on there was P. Lilith. She has 3 different shots she can do. One is that her spells auto hit, like what she had now. She can add or remove fury from a beast she shoots, or she can cause free charges for her war beasts. So that's all I got on that.
Well, that's all pretty cuckoo.
What?
So, for the sake of time, we're going to try and, clip through, I guess, some of the major ones, because there's a lot. I mean, there's been a ton of stuff. They've been out Insiders, every day.
I know.
Artillery rules had a major change. So now you can make an advance and fire, charge, or benefit from an aiming bonus, which is huge, because you were never able to do that before. Cater always had actually pretty good infantry, or artillery, so I'm going to take that as a buff for it. I'm not entirely sure what the mortar crew gets, but I think it gets high explosive.
And knockdown.
Well, knockdown's on the field gun, though.
No, that's the field gun. That's right. Never mind.
Gosh, Ben. So it's now range 14 with knockdown. Trenchers, D3+1 shots. Grunts allow an extra die of damage, which is actually cool. It's still POW 10. They keep digging, advanced deployment, covering fire, etc. Not much else has changed. They also did an insider kind of going over Scorn, and they address Malik Karn, who is incredible. So now Malik Karn only gets sidestep with Makeda while he's in her control range, so he can't just zip up to the end of the board and be cuckoo like he could before. That's a good change, right? That's a good change.
Yeah, that's a very good change.
What else have we got? Oh my goodness. Major change, Warcaster Power Field. So this is where they talked about it. It was on the 5.9 Insider when they talked about Retribution, and they were like, oh, by the way, Warcasters no longer get an armor boost as the benefit of their overboost ability. Now it's just you spend a focus each time you are damaged to negate 5 damage.
Yeah, that looks like it's going to be like kind of like readjusting how to play. That's going to be one of the biggest changes in my mind playing this game now. It's going to be that whole, because it's just one focus per damage source. Is that right?
Per damage source, so you couldn't spend multiple focus if you got hit really hard by one thing.
Okay.
And from what I was understanding in the forums earlier, 'cause someone had asked the question, if you take damage and you manage to mitigate 100% of that by spending a focus, do triggers that trigger on damage still take place? And apparently they do.
Yep, just like transfers. Yeah.
Yeah. And so overall, it's going to kind of wear some casters out of the attrition game. I know we're kind of having a mathematical comparison with like Peace Striker, if he were to cast, if he was on his feet, camping focus versus having to spend. He's not as survivable with the new overboost ability. But I don't know if that's being done more to, make games a little faster or not. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. What's that?
Harbinger cannot tank like she used to.
Yes, her +10 armor is no longer. So
Like Terminus or Asphyxius 3 sitting on 30 focus.
Terminus?
Yeah. Gosh, so crazy.
Yeah.
Arcane Assassin as an ability was removed in the game, and it's just been replaced with Blessed. Bird's Eye no longer grants 360 arc. Backlash, I hate it. It's still there. It shouldn't be there.
You're really
Hypno
scared of
Gut
that backlash stuff, aren't you?
Well, it seems very gimmicky, and it seems like with how many I don't know, like Subtixis, right? They have it. And if they're able to just get on multiple jacks, because you're going to have like 3 or 4 in a given game, it just seems like you can take a lot of damage from that. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. It just is like a fear I have, right? But,
yeah.
Some buffs to.
Like I said,
Come on. Did you say something? Okay. Crap, I lost it. There it is. So they were just talking about the buffs to Retribution, and it's good. It's an interesting read up on. I mean, Retribution I always thought was pretty strong. I don't know if people quite played it the way it was intended, but they're still giving them some buffs. They've increased some of their damage. Dusters get unyielding, things like that. They talked about, in the Insider from 510, the dynamic updates. So as things need to get eroded, of course they've always been updating it in War Room if you happen to have it, but they're also going to make it available as a PDF on the website and allow you to, I guess they're going to print new faction decks with the updated rules semi-annually. So you can, if you want to have the cards, you can buy them from.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, because a lot of people were confused.
the erratas are going to be semi-annual, but the decks will be once.
The cards will be once a year?
Yeah, the cards will be once a year.
Okay. Well, and that's fine, because it's not that big a deal depending on where in the year the errata happens, which is probably going to be closer to mid-year anyway. You're not going to go more than 6 months with a printed out card if you need to. And I always like the printed cards personally, but I don't know if most people. Do you guys end up playing on War Room more often, or?
No, not really.
The War Room beta is actually pretty awesome.
Is it?
Yeah, it is a lot better. It is a lot better. But
with the beta, you're actually able to put multiple. Yeah, with multiple armies in there, it makes it a lot easier to actually use, because you can look at your army and your opponent's army at the same time, and that's actually started causing me to play more on War Room than using physical cards.
Yeah.
They still don't have a way to add a beast from the spawning vessel, which is a huge problem.
Huh. Interesting. Referring to Warcaster, there was a forum thing too when they were discussing the overboost ability that has changed on Warcasters. They mentioned something like Terminus and Butcher are going to get just sort of a general bonus to their armor because they are designed to be front and center fighters, but like Nemo and Harbinger, Severius, the squishier casters are not getting any sort of bonus to that, so they're still going to have to be the type to hang back. They also did an announcement for the 2-player boxes. Did you guys see that?
I did.
I did see the 2-player boxes. Yeah.
So now we've got Crix and Signar, where it used to be Khador Menoth, and Trollblood Scorn, which used to be Legion and Circle. Yeah.
Yep.
Circle.
Which is cool because I think with in Mark II when you had the 2-player battle boxes, then making the other factions now, it's that way you could still buy the old boxes even though you would need updated cards, but at least now you have your choice of all the different factions instead of just the 2 on each side. So.
That makes sense, and for the most part they picked factions that are fairly straightforward because Circle is just very, I don't know, bizarre. It's so weird. It's just weird. And so, Scorn, they're straightforward. Trollbloods, they're straightforward. Signar, a little goofy, but they're straightforward. And we'll see what Mark III does with them. And then Crix, as they write on C4s, front toward enemy, go.
Nope.
Some people just like to win, so they buy into Crix. It's just the way it is.
And then the last, is that the last Privateer Insider? Oof, gosh, there's so many. They did a massive one on the 11th about Trollkins. Ton of stuff on there, but in short, Maul got scaled back. Rock gained some damage boxes, and some bond called Stumbling Drunk. Let's see. Mountain King and Glacier King went up to 54 damage boxes, so they had an increase in how much damage they can take. They mentioned that the Long Rider Cavalry still gets to keep their 8 damage boxes in addition to getting the reposition, or a cavalry move, whatever it is, the icon. And they did a huge streamlining on all of the the factions with the animi. So now they took out, a bunch of them and repeated animi throughout the factions so that you don't need to just have the one guy who gives you Far Strike or the one guy that gives you Rage. So that, I think, sounds really useful, but as a non-Hordes player, I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
A lot more animi are becoming ranged self as well, which should be very interesting. For example, Far Strike is one that we've seen become ranged self only.
Yes, a lot, and they mentioned that a lot of them are going to become self only.
Yeah. What scares me, though, is duplicating animi that have a ranged attached to them. Like we know Rage is duplicated, it's on the Mauler and the Mountain King. What scares me about that is it seems like a very good way to just make one model better than another one. It's like, okay, I want this Animus, well this beast is clearly better and it has it, so I'm just going to take it and never the other one.
Well, hopefully with bonds or tier lists or theme lists that you will have a reason to take the other one, though. Would be my guess. By the way, Tony, we didn't kick him out of the stream. His internet went down, so he may or may not be back, and damn it, Tony.
Bye.
About that.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I know, I saw him disappear, and I was like, well, I guess he's done with us, so whatever.
I didn't mean to offend him, I'm sorry.
A ton of models went up to 1-inch melee range. Krill Warriors, Krill Stonebearer, Sons of Bragg, Trollkin Champions, Rune Shapers, Fellcaller Heroes, Stone Scribe Chroniclers, Trollkin Sorcerers, Horgel Iron Strike, Genesis Stonetide, and most of the Warlocks all gain 1-inch melee. So they will theoretically be a little more offensive as the result of that. They also changed what defensive line means. Now, instead of +2 armor, it is now +2 defense.
Defense?
I think.
Where's your defense?
You have to defend 12 to defend. Hey, there's a defense bonus for trolls. Like, it's so weird. Shield Guard went on to Warders. Also, Wall of Steel, which is what defensive line I think used to be. So Wall of Steel is +2 armor.
Yep.
Bunch of other stuff. Backstrike rules. This is where they talk about backstrike rules, where they're like, oh, by the way, thanks for reading this. Just so you know, if you happen to start out in front of a model and end up behind him, or just able to go through him, whatever, you get the backstrike bonus for hitting him in the back. So
Crix approves. So.
Crix approves. Anything with acrobatics.
Or Totem Hunter's gonna love that.
Ooh, yeah.
The rakes are gonna be stupid good with that. Oh yeah, it's gonna be insane.
Teleporting circles things.
Oh goodness.
It's gonna be a thing.
No, it's going to be aggravating, I think, for a lot of people. I don't know exactly why they did it. Maybe it's just as less to keep track of, but and maybe to really encourage you to paint your arcs on stuff. Ben.
Well, it's not just that, but when you move a model and you're attacking and going, wait, did I start in their back arc or not? Because I'm there now. Where was I before?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That's gone.
You know what else is gone? Janice's walls. Sorry. They're gone. All of them. You know what she makes instead? A mound.
Oh yeah, hill. That's right. She makes a little hill. That's right.
She makes a 1-inch high hill. It's a 4-inch AoE template anywhere completely within her command range that if it doesn't touch a model's base, an obstruction, or an obstacle, boom, a hill has appeared. So it's not huge. It's designed to increase defense, and I'm pretty sure you can still see from one side of the hill to another, so it's not really helping a whole lot as far as line of sight stuff.
Yeah.
We'll see. It seems like a major nerf, but everything always looks like that when you come from something as strong as just placing walls willy-nilly.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't stop you from pushes, but at the same time, there are a lot fewer effects that ignore elevation than there are that ignore cover.
Yeah.
That's true.
Let's see, and then of course they changed Madrak Ironhide. They have his card actually posted, so he seems pretty awesome. Purification was more or less removed. They just made the statement that only Protectorate gets Purification now. Everybody else gets something else, Dissolution or something like that.
Well, Dissolution is Doomy's version, which that looks good.
Yes. It does look good.
Father Lucant got something too. I'm trying to remember what his version was. They said it's like a type of purification, but does something like it only takes. Dang it! I'm gonna have to look it up now. I don't remember. Father Lucant no longer has purification, but now has discontinuity. Now melee weapons get dispel with that spell, so melee can dispel. There you go. Gosh, we so needed that. That's gonna be awesome.
Did you? Yeah. Goad is gone from Doomshaper 2 and 3. Doomshaper 1 keeps it.
Yep.
And Doomshaper 2 gets Field Marshal Overtake. And when that happens, because it is a movement, you can decide at that point with your model if you want to snack or overtake, and they give you that choice. On the Insider from the 12th, they talked about Convergence. And they posted the corollary card, which is the same except for the point cost. The Enigma Foundry must now place models completely within 3 inches, so that's kind of a major change because there's always been a big difference between within and completely within. So that'll help from the defensive player standpoint.
And they have to forfeit their combat action when they come back into play too, which is big. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, so I mean, with the Enigma Foundry, there are 2 big changes, because they seem to be making almost every place effect a completely within thing. And actually completely within 3 means the model is further away from the Enigma Foundry than before, because before it was just within 1, so the medium base was 2.5 inches away, the small was 2. But yeah, and then the forfeiting combat action when they come back is the other thing that they seem to be making much more universal for returning models, which is huge. And thank God, because that fixes Excarnate.
Yeah, and that'll definitely help. They also reworded Explosivo again. Now Explosivo reads target friendly faction models gains models ranged weapons gain damage type magical. If the affected model directly hits and boxes an enemy model with an attack from a ranged weapon, center a 3-inch AoE on the boxed model, then remove the model from play. Models in the AoE are hit and suffer an unboostable Power 8 magical blast damage roll. It sounds a lot like Shatterstorm to me. And then Gunbjorn picked up Field Marshal Killshot.
Such a cleaner rule.
It really is. It was really confusing to read before, so I'm glad to do that. So.
Well, I'm sure they wanted to avoid any more walls of text on the back of cards because it was kind of like weird to look at. You're like, what's going on?
Or just go to the rules forum and 4 threads later, yeah, we still don't know how this works.
They also leaked Gunbjorn's feat, which now reads, while in Gunbjorn's control range, friendly faction models gain cover, do not suffer damage from ranged attacks, and cannot become knocked down. So, way.
Wow.
Shoot him with spells!
Yeah.
Yep. So, anyway, that's all I've written down in there. That was me going over all the insiders from the 15th to now. They did have one last insider, but they were really just going over Banewitch Agathia and her concept art, which admittedly looks really cool. But
Yeah.
I don't know what she does.
We'll find out in the next no quarter.
Yeah.
Someone asked what they think will happen, what they think they're going to mention in the Khador Insider. I'm sure they're going to be talking about Iron Flesh being no more, goodbye. Maybe they'll address the Mana War and hopefully talk about some kind of speed buff. I don't know. That would be really nice. And, I don't know. I want to make sure the old witch is still very usable. She was always one of my favorite casters, and so I don't want her to become irrelevant in this aggressive style of get in the middle and fight. And I hope the game isn't as in the middle and fight as it used to be, or as it currently is. So.
Yeah. How do you think they're going to affect the Kayazi?
Like their mini feed, or just Kayazi in general? Cause
in general, just I don't know. What do you think they'll?
I don't know that Kayazi were ever particularly broken. I mean, they always suffered. You know, they die to blast damage easily enough. Underboss being FA to match them could be pretty scary. So they might change his mini feat. But overall, I think Kayazi will probably stay the same. I hope they don't nerf Eliminators, because Eliminators are going to benefit so much from that backstrike bonus stuff, and I really want to try it.
Yeah.
As long as they don't change charges.
I think they're really, if they're going to pick on anyone, they're going to pick on Winterguard, because Winterguard have been so easily used and abused. Like, Kovnik Joe will probably see some kind of change to what he grants. I don't think and if Iron Flesh is gone altogether, they might not have to, because that's the only way Winterguard were ever broken. It's the only way Kayazi were ever broken.
Yeah.
They really don't have to change the units a lot if they change that one spell.
Well, Kovnik Joe's probably got a bunch of other speeches he can give, He's just tired of giving the same ones over and over again.
Their strength is stupid. I don't understand why it's even there. Like,
words of your forefathers enough times. You should know this by now.
Well, and that's a good point. If there's no more psychology rules, being fearless no longer matters, so it's just tough. Or maybe it's tough in Pathfinder. He, encourages them to try and break brush or something. That'd be fun.
Faster!
It's just, they just give him, a riding crop. It's just, and then we mentioned before the show Flight had changed to be more expansive. I think you had mentioned, right? What's going on with Flight again?
The text for Flight is larger, but functionally it actually looks the exact same. It doesn't look like functionality at all.
Yeah.
It just
so you can fly over obstacles
it ignores
and instructions. Yeah. The
aim. It doesn't stop. It just.
They did mention that there are 32 occurrences of Field Marshal across both systems, so that is definitely a push they've been happy with and are continuing with. So that'll be cool. I liked the Field Marshal idea. It actually means your warcaster brings something to the table.
Yeah. Yeah, it gives it. Playing Convergence. It's nice to have that extra ability that, that just covers your whole battle group, and it gives, sometimes you have to remember which that you have it sometimes, but it's pretty cool. Just you're right. It gives a whole just different flavor to your battle group and your army, which is what the game needs. So.
Heck yeah. Ooh, speaking of which, and this is another thing that made me very happy. Water no longer extinguishes warjacks when they are knocked down in, I guess, shallow water. So, yay! Because that was such a terrifying, skewing thing if you fought hordes on the other side. I'm like, damn it, I can't deploy anywhere near that. So.
It just stopped a lot of people from putting water on the table to begin with, because people just didn't want to have to deal with it. So.
Well, that's always been an issue in Warmachine. Nobody wanted to put terrain on the board in general. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and as a side note, Unspent Focus no longer goes away in the maintenance phase, so you actually can use your overboost ability against fire and things like that. So, yay.
Yeah.
That's...
Camp 1, ignore corrosion.
What's that? You cannot?
Oh, Camp 1, and you can ignore corrosion.
Oh, this is true. And probably fire.
Might as well shunt the damage.
And yes, you can still use focus to heal your warcaster as well. So, but yeah, I guess that's kind of like the major changes that have happened. Now there was some chat in the chat earlier about if you're playing locally, are you still seeing a lot of games locally in your meta with the announcement of Mark III? Now Ben, I know for us we're doing like a farewell to Mark II, and what are we doing? What are the events? I don't know.
The only events, the last event for Mark II planned is the farewell, which is still going to be a 2-list 50-point steamroller Masters format, so you have ADR.
Yeah.
Just kind of one last go, and I'm making sure it is Mark II, not Mark 2.5, nothing like that. We are doing a proper Mark II final send-off. And then that is the week before Lock and Load, so it's functionally the last time we'll actually be playing Mark II, really, because I plan on switching to Mark III as fast as I can.
Well, I mean, if you have War Room, it's all gonna... I assume you buy the faction decks or whatever, but it'll be available, I assume, around the 12th. So, yeah, we can switch over right away.
Your press site comes back up.
That's true. It's probably not going to work for a while, like all day. Just getting early. It's fine. Are you playing much Mark II still, Eric?
Oh, yeah. There's some, obviously, different people are putting in different amounts of Mark III that they're kind of learning into it. I personally, mostly we're just letting people do the pre-measuring. That's the only thing we're really kind of giving on. But some people stopped coming out. They're kind of waiting for Mark III, but for the most part, people are still coming out and playing Mark II. We had a lot of, like I said, a lot of new players for our journeymen, so a lot of those guys still want to come out and play, even with the old rules. But but also, I mean, at Lock and Load, if we can get a hold of a good internet connection, through our hotel room, as soon as the decks go on sale, we're gonna be like spoiling friggin' everything. So, so tune
just
in.
Like horrible bootleg cell-phone images, like.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be insane. We're gonna go over all the cards, the rules, all the favorite models. It's gonna be insane. So it's gonna be good.
Nice. And then for the poor folks who do not have the digital access, and who will not be at Lock and Load to get the faction decks, you'll be able to get them. The official release date's June 29th. So really, the switch to Mark III happens in July, essentially. But everybody will be gearing up and racing for it as much as possible. And I'm going to try and get battle reports up on it as soon as I can too, because I'm really curious about the Rumble and the Battle Box games, and then just how it affects all our old models. So.
Yeah, no, I'm really curious how that Rumble thing works. I really want to see how that plays. So.
All I know is with my channel, because I have 2 tablets, right after Lock and Load, provided I can get everything on there that week, that the site comes back up fast enough, my channel's switching to Mark III right away, to help get used to it, to help show how it is. And then when the Rumble rules come out, I'll probably be doing a battle report for that week as well.
Nice.
Yeah, we're swapping over to Mark III as soon as Mark II's done as well. So.
Yeah.
So check out all of our channels. If you haven't been able to see it, you can see how it plays. Yay! If we can get a hold of it. We'll get a hold of it as soon as we can. All right, so we're going to wind down from this. Now, Eric, you and I have a match on tactics in a few minutes. So does everybody just go to your YouTube for CounterSlam to find it, or how do they get there?
Well, we'll get it set up, but it'll go through our Twitch. Actually, it'll probably end up going on Twitch and YouTube, and so they'll be able to find it. Anyone who's subscribed to us will get notifications that it's going on. So.
Awesome. I'll also put it up on my Facebook. So later tonight, he and I are going to duke it out, and it's Kador versus Crix. So, oh god. We'll see. So anyway, thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us. I know it's just a lot of talking because there were so many things to cover, and we still didn't cover everything, but really the insiders are pretty comprehensive, and that, what was that website, 3++?
Yeah. So it's number 3, and then you spell out ++.net.
Yeah, it's actually really cool, just bullet points of all the things that have changed if you're trying to just keep up with it. It's nice because, again, they are leaking stuff in so many different places. It's hard to keep track of. So, all right. Well, any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
Okay, listen, makes me bored.
All right, whatever. Well, Legion. He played Circle forever. Ben is like the meanest press ganger ever, just so you know. Like, he takes new players and he makes them sad. So.
Well, I play Crix and Legion. I play Crix and Legion, and I have no friends, so.
All my friends are on the internet.
I know, right?
All right, well, thank you again, and Eric, I'll see you in a few minutes. Ben, I appreciate you joining us. Sorry, Tony, you lost your internet connection. Maybe we'll try again next time. And I'm hoping to have another one of these talks right after Lock and Load, just to kind of go over a lot of the major changes that have happened between now and then, as well as how Lock and Load went, because, Eric, you'll be there.
Yes.
All right, so thank you guys. Have a good night. I'm signing out. As soon as I figure out how. There it is. Bye.